Are you guys in a situation where like you guys are willing to just kind of like forfeit the season type thing? And I don't mean it like in a negative way, but like, are you guys gonna for like a trade to go through like if you have to trade a third or a third round pick for Russell Wilson, would the Bengals organization be willing to in hopes that they make playoffs, Joe Burrow comes back, and then Joe Burrow rallies the team to a Super Bowl or something like that? Because is it like a win now for this team, or can we like wait until next year when Joe Burrow's healthy? Because then at that point, you shouldn't have to trade for somebody like Russell Wilson. You should just run with Jake Browning or go pick up like another like a Tommy DeVito or something, you know?
Yeah, and I think that's an interesting question that the Bengals have to answer interiorly. Because if you are, we have to get honest with ourselves here then. First the major question is, do you think Joe is coming back this year? Will Joe be returning in December? Do we honestly think that's going to happen? If the answer is yes, then you try to turf toe. He had turf toe surgery. So
50-50,
if the answer is yes, then you try to stay away, or no, you try to stay alive for the playoffs until December when you get Joe back. If the answer is no, if this is just them all posturing, trying to, keep ticket sales up, then I think it becomes a more interesting thing of, okay, how do we prepare for next year? And that's a big thing. And that also makes you need to look at Trey Hendrickson again then. Okay. Do we think Trey Hendrickson is he going to be a Cincinnati Bengal next year? Are we intent on extending him? You can't, you could franchise tag him, but it would end up being more expensive than what it would have been to extend him in the first place this season. So I don't think you franchise tag him. But if you're not intent on, and fans are going to hate this, but I think it's right. If you're not intent on extending Trey Hendrickson this year, and you don't think Joe Burrow will be back this year, and you're just going to tank, then I think you trade Trey Hendrickson to someone like the 49ers who just lost Nick Bosa. And I hate that. I don't like saying that, but I think that is the correct route to go. And that's, again, something I can't answer for the Bengals. You also have to answer, is Zac Taylor the guy? Is he our coach? Is he what we think the future is here? However, if you do think Joe Burrow's coming back, if you believe in this team, if you believe that there is a reality here where they can make the playoffs, I think you bring in Russell Wilson. Because, or someone, you bring in whoever you think is going to be your best option to keep this Bengals team alive until December when you can get Joe back. But I can't answer that question for the Bengals. That's a question for Katie Blackburn. That's a question for Mike Brown. What do you really believe in your heart of hearts is going to happen here?
Right. So tell me what happened during the Vikings game. Then I know we were going to talk about that, but then I rudely interrupted you. So what went wrong? What went wrong? What kind of went right? Do you got some positives out of this negative at all?
It's all bad. There's no positives here. So Jake Browning, I like Jake Browning.
He looks happy in that picture.
He looks happy in that photo. He wasn't happy on a Sunday. I don't put the loss on him. He threw 2 interceptions, I think, one of which was a pick 6. But the pick 6 was it was a throw to Chase Brown that was pretty good until Harrison Smith, who I normally love, got his fingers on it and tipped it and spun it the opposite direction. And Isaiah Rodgers caught it and ran it back. So that was just the Vikings just did a very good job early of getting all the momentum in their favor, on both sides of the ball. Brian Flores came in, and the Vikings defensive coordinator, will likely be a head coach next season. He took it personal, I think, when I believe he was still with the Vikings and when in 2023 when Jake Browning beat them. But I think he took it personal when Jake said you never should have cut me, and he made Jake look bad. He did, and it didn't help. It didn't help that the Bengals have had absolutely no run offense, even with Joe Burrow, and more so with Joe Burrow in some ways. They had no run offense. Samaje Perine was the leading rusher. Chase Brown could not get anything going. And I'm not quite sure what the reasoning before that is, because I do think the guards have improved. I think I'm going to place the blame for now on Zac Taylor and the play calling, because Zac Taylor kept calling runs on first down, which you just can't do with a backup quarterback. Because and this kept happening, especially against the Vikings D-line, Chase Brown wasn't getting anything. So we had a lot of 2nd and 10, 2nd and 12 situations. So you're already putting your backup quarterback in a bad situation. And the play calling just was not helping Jake. It was putting him in a lot of 3rd and long situations, which I think they said that no team had converted like a 3rd and 8 or longer against the Vikings yet this season. And I think that remains true through this week. But it just like there was nothing. And then Isaiah Rodgers got a scoop and score off of, I can't remember if it was the Jamar Chase fumble, the Samaje Perine fumble, the Noah Fant fumble. But one of those fumbles, Isaiah Rodgers just absolutely killed. He was like a one-man show against the Vikings. You can't have your stars fumbling when you have a backup quarterback in. And the Vikings just had taken the life out of the Bengals going into the locker room at halftime already. Carson Wentz didn't even really do anything. I don't even know how long Carson Wentz was actually on the field, because the Vikings defense kept creating turnovers and scoring on them, that it was just like, okay, great, Carson. I think he had 2 touchdowns, but anyway, going into the locker room, Zac Taylor said we have our pride to play for still. And it was like, okay. And then they came out of the locker room and they were just uninspired. Like it was bad. No, you could tell no one on the defense really wanted to be there. They weren't playing like they had anything to like any pride. Their pride was not won that day. And that's another thing that like, I think, so I've been a big Zac Taylor defender. I have defended Zac Taylor multiple times on this show. I think the thing that frustrates me the most about this game is the way they looked in the second half. Because you have 2 types of teams. You have teams that win and you have teams that lose. And the thing about teams that win is even when they do lose, they lose and you can say, okay, hey, they went out there and tried their best. They went out there and, they played all 60 minutes. It was hard. It was tough. Yeah, the score doesn't really reflect it, but they played well. They played passionately. If you go and look at the second half, that defense was already on the bench, like everyone, and like the offense was already on the bus. They were all wanting to go home already. And Zac Taylor did not keep that team inspired. He did not keep that team, motivated to like, hey, at least let's go show them what we've got. Let's go show them who we are as a team. Or like, heck, say, yeah, we're going to lose this game. Let's try out some new schemes. Let's try out some new stuff that we've got. Let's see what we can throw at them to, maybe get a touchdown or 2 here. They started pulling the starters. It was boring. I have never turned off a Bengals game before, and I still haven't, but I was tempted because the players didn't want to be there. And so why would I as a fan want to be there? I think that's the most concerning thing to me about Zac Taylor is he did not have that team motivated coming out of the locker room. He said that they were going to play for their pride, but then they didn't.
Yeah. I mean, that's how it is in a nutshell. I mean, it is concerning that it was like 34-3 or something ridiculous at half, and then coming out of the half, they didn't even look alive because they allowed, 10 points total, the Vikings? So it would have been, 45 what was the final, 45-10?
Yeah, I think it was 45-10. It was a Drew Sample 48-10. So it was a Drew Sample touchdown too. So it was
Yes. and and you can't blame the defense because it wasn't really the defense's fault. It was just partially the offense and just there's just so much that went into it that at that point I feel like you can't blame the offensive coordinator, the defensive coordinator. You can't like it comes down, falls on to Zac Taylor because we've seen games in the past where teams are down. We saw it this season, 41-25. Buffalo was down with like 5 minutes left in the game, and they came back and won that game. And the
Mhm.
thing is I'm not expecting some crazy comeback when you have your backup quarterback in against the Vikings who are already up 34-3, but we've seen it before. We've seen it in Super Bowls. Even if you don't come back and win, if you make it seem like you're going to come back and you put a little bit of pressure on, if you put up 24 points and it's all of a sudden 34-24 in the game, and even if you still lose 41-24, at one point in the game, it was close. It was starting to get close. But it looked like, I mean, from the sounds of it, it looked like you guys just kind of rolled over and died, which is not good looking going forth in the next couple of weeks. Because do you think that at that point, um, the team, the offense specifically, or the defense, everybody pretty much already has lost faith in like a Jake Browning? Is that why you're really pushing for the quarterback type move? Do you think that they're losing faith in Browning? Do you think they're losing faith in general? Do you think they just had a bad game? Because who do you guys play this week?
They play the Broncos on Monday Night Football.
Do you think that the Bengals have confidence going into this game though? Do you think that they're going to be able to rally again around the Jake Browning who didn't play real good? Do you think they'll be motivated behind Zac Taylor coming into Monday?
I think Zac Taylor is a bigger concern for me than what Jake Browning is. So Jake Browning, he didn't play amazing, but I don't think he played awful either. That pick six interception was it wasn't a great throw, but it wasn't like a terrible throw either. Um, so that was just like a tip ball. He had a 70% completion percentage for 140 yards. So I mean, he was still kind of okay, I guess. But I my concern with the team was they just rolled over, like you said. They didn't come out motivated at all to do anything. Like it just, and I know that's not easy. It's easier to say from this chair, like, why weren't you guys motivated when they have all these eyes on them, watching them lose in a hostile environment? I get that, but as the head coach, you have to give them something to play for. You have to give them a reason to come out and be passionate. And, I know Shamar Stewart was out. Cam Taylor-Britt was out. Joe Burrow's obviously out. But give them some sort of motivation. I'm not pushing for the quarterback trade because I think Jake Browning can't win. But I'm pushing for it because there are people saying they need to trade for it. And I'm saying, okay, if they do a trade, this is the best guy, is Russell Wilson, not Jameis Winston, not
Mhm.
Kirk Cousins, that's still a thing for some reason, even though he came in last week against Michael Penix
Yeah,
Jr.
he's not
They're
moving.
definitely not moving Kirk Cousins now. But
No.
but I it was just so frustrating to watch this team just, roll over. Is that the type of team that we are? That when Joe Burrow goes down, we just kind of roll over? If that's true, if that's how we're going to play the rest of the year, then that goes back to what we were saying originally at the top of this segment. Just trade Trey Hendrickson then. Just,
Because you could get capital for him. You don't know. Because if somebody's coming in doing an extension right off, like if you're going to trade them to San Francisco and San Francisco's like, well, we're going to extend you or we're going to give you like an extra 2 years or whatever coming off of this trade, he might be worth more at that point. They might give like who knows? They could give a top pick and you could replace him in the draft.
Zach said Zach said we have to turn this loss into a win, which I agree. This cannot happen again this season if you want to be a serious team. If we're not going to be a serious team, well, then, okay, let's all just go home and lick our lollipops and call it a day. But let's prepare for next year then, I guess. It's just extremely, like, you have to decide what you're going to do. And
Correct.
I don't think they should I'm not advocating for them to give up right now. I think it'd be stupid for them to give up. But if as players, that's what you're going to decide to do, if you're just not going to come out motivated, okay, fine. We'll all go and watch the Indianapolis Colts just up the road a little bit. They're playing well for no reason.
Yeah, which is awesome though. They've got a exciting team.
We're going to talk about the Colts here in a second, but yeah, I think they need to come out in Monday Night Football in primetime in front of the nation against the Denver Broncos, who are a good team but have been struggling, and say, this is who we are. They have to make a statement